Before we begin with worship this morning, we have special guests with us, Mark and Mary Kay Liston, and they're going to come and share a little bit about how good soil makes a difference in their life and how they are growing in generosity as a part of our stewardship emphasis together as well. Mark and Mary Kay, thank you for being with us today. And share a little bit about yourselves with us.
Go ahead, you start.
Well, we're delighted to be here. And to formally introduce ourselves to you, I'm Mary Kay Liston. This is Mark Liston. And we became snowbirds last year when we moved. First we moved from Waco, Texas to Ann Arbor, Michigan. And then when we retired, we decided we wanted to live by our kids. So we have kids living in the Cleveland area, and we have a daughter in Florida. So we bounce between both places going forward, which is why you don't see us all the time.
Talk about your background.
I was raised Catholic. In fact, my home church is the old mission in San Diego, the first of all the missions that Father Junipero Serra built. And I practiced Catholicism until I went to college, and I got involved with Campus Crusade for Christ and realized that Catholicism was not for me. But I didn't find Lutheranism until I married this guy. And we've been attending Lutheran church since then for almost 20 years.
Like you said, I'm Mark. I grew up in the Lutheran church from kindergarten through 8th grade. Where we lived in Rockford, Illinois, was a nasty neighborhood. And when it was time for me to go to school, it was right across from our house. And my parents decided, you're not going there. So they found a parochial school, which was St. Paul Lutheran in Rockford, Illinois. And that was just wonderful. So after that, I was always LCMS. We were LCMS when we lived in Ann Arbor, and we had a wonderful church. It wasn't the real strict like you'd say it was, because the two pastors were on campus at University of Michigan. So a lot of the people that came were kids, and they wanted the truth, but not beat over the head with it. So these were two very loving pastors. And the challenge we had when we moved to Florida and then here was trying to find a church that we loved as much as that one. So we searched and searched and searched, and finally we found one in Florida. And there was time to come back here, close on our house. We live in Concord. So Concord's about a 45-minute drive from here. So we closed, and we went to a couple churches, and they just didn't cut it. And then we remembered one of the pastors said, you know, I know of a pastor up in Cleveland area, and you might try that. So we reached out, found out who it was, and we came here, and we were hooked within 60 minutes. Why was that?
Because of the love. You just feel the love in this church, and certainly from Pastor Marissa. And so that's why we're excited to be a part of this while we're here. We're here to talk today about giving. And I want you to think about an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. God has blessed us so truly and so much, and we're delighted to be able to help out two churches, but this one has sort of tugged at our heart. And so we want to encourage you to give generously, because we know that it will come back. We're absolutely promised that it will come back to you. And the interesting thing is there are lots of ways you can give in terms of nonprofits or whatever. And certainly we participate in a lot of other ones, and I'm sure you do too. But the interesting thing about supporting your home church is that it is the most concrete way to support not only local, but also global initiatives. And they do a great job of using your money wisely here. So I encourage you to think about upping your giving going into next year, because Pastor Marissa and the board have lots and lots of wonderful plans.
When we lived in Waco, I had a chance to go to Haiti with Mission Waco. And it is the poorest, nastiest country you can ever imagine that's going downhill fast. The people that we worked with were very giving people. The president of our company, the founder, in fact, it was the founder's daughter. I was in church in Haiti, and she went to Mass every day. They both went to Mass every day. She was an undercover boss. Even there, Dina went to Mass every day. So we're in church in Haiti, and it's a poor church, obviously, But the last 20 rows or so are just chairs. I mean, beat up, you find a chair in the street, bring it to church because maybe somebody can sit on it. So we learned two things at church that day. We understood two words. One was amen, and the second one was money. So we talked to the priest afterwards, and during that, we understood that they needed pews for the back of the church to replace all these rickety chairs. And there's probably 20 or so pews that they needed. So to replace them, $5,000, $10,000. So I heard the gentleman that I sat next to, who was the husband of the person who was undercover boss, I heard him whisper to his wife, "Let's get all of them." And I sat back and I thought, they don't know these people. They don't know this church. They're never going to come back here. But out of the giving of their heart, and because they're so generous, they said, let's make this church better for everybody in Haiti. And I learned something that day. And like Mary Kay said, it's really an attitude of abundance that, can we afford to do this? Yeah, but what's the difference? We're going to blow some money anyhow on something. But when you look at it, say, can I really help? Then the other thing, Mary Kay and I are both presidents of companies. The worst time of the year was budget time.
Oh, yeah. And it started in September, and we generally get done in December. But I know that's exactly what our church leaders are going through right now is budget time. And you can't even begin to plan what you're going to do next year unless you know what kind of revenue you're going to have to work with. So even if you're just thinking, well, I'll wait and see how next year feels and then decide what I want to give, now is the time that they really need to know so that they can start to make plans. Why don't you show them what came in the mail this week? Y'all saw that, a letter from Pastor, and the intent letter in it, the intent card. So we encourage you to fill that out, turn it in next week, and so that they can make plans and so we can continue to grow and love on each other. Thank you.
One more thing. The pastor in Florida that suggested we come here was her mom, Pastor Rita. And she is just like her daughter, and her daughter's just like her. And it was a loving congregation there, too, or it is.
Thank you so much, Listons.